Hey, my friends, I am thrilled to be here with you once again to do a cooking segment. If you've never met me before, I'm Katie. I love cooking and baking. It's actually one of my passions, and I like making food that is on the healthier side, taste like it's not healthy. Is that a thing? Because, well, my kids don't always like when things taste healthy. So, and I'm kind of a picky eater myself. And so if I can have something that is good for me and it tastes good, that's a win-win, right? Now, not everything is going to be like that, but I definitely try. So today we're going to make loaded cauliflower. What ways have you used cauliflower that maybe your family loved? Let me know, because I'm always open for suggestions, because you run out of ideas after a while, right? I know I do. I have tried, oh gosh, the buffalo wings for the cauliflower. I have tried them in the air fryer. I've tried them in the oven. I've tried pizza crust. I have tried, I've made this loaded cauliflower before. It's amazing. There's many different things that I've tried to make with cauliflower. Even mashed potatoes I've tried. And I'll tell you a little story about that one. Our oldest son absolutely loves mashed potatoes, and he hates anything healthy. And so this one day he came home, because he hasn't lived at home for a few years, but he came home and was super excited to see that I was cooking. And so I just got done making some no-bake cookies that were, for me, the healthy option, where it had coconut and all the good oatmeal, all the good things. And no-bake cookies are one of his favorites. And so he bit into it, super excited that I thought of him and made a no-bake cookie. Oh my gosh, the reaction I got was so funny. Well, the next evening he came home again, and don't you know, I was making mashed potatoes, which is another one of his favorites. It wasn't mashed potatoes. It was the cauliflower mashed potatoes. He took one bite and he goes, "I am done." He said, "I don't know what is true and what's not around here with food." He was so funny. So we tease him every once in a while that make sure your mashed potatoes are real mashed potatoes. So anyway, we always have a lot of fun. And when you can trick someone with foods like that. I know people do it April 1st, but hey, they get it around my house quite a bit, because if they don't see me cook, that's the best. I mean, if your kids don't know what's in there, it's not going to hurt them, right? So I got my cauliflower. I cut it up in small pieces. I got it in my steamer. I'm going to put that in the microwave for about 2 minutes. It's just going to have to steam a little bit, because it's going to finish baking in the oven. So while that is steaming, we're going to mix our 1.5 cups of Greek yogurt. We're going to mix that in here with some cheese. Now, I understand some people may not like cheese, or they may watch how much cheese they eat, and rightfully so, because I try not to have too much cheese, but oh my gosh, who can resist cheese, right? It's very, very hard. So what I do is I buy a block. In my area, I'm privileged to have bulk food stores that I can get cheese by the big 5-pound blocks. And if you've ever noticed, when you go to the store, this is a little tip for you, the store-bought cheese that is pre-shredded, have you ever noticed that it hardly melts? That's a reason, because, well, number one, they want it to look pretty in the bag, so it doesn't stick together. Number two is they put something on there that it makes it that it doesn't clump together. But guess what? You eat that. And so that's extra carbs that you are taking in if you buy the whole block and shred it yourself, you know what's in your food, right? So that's what I like to do. I need about 4 ounces of cheese, and you can get just a nice grater anywhere. And so we're going to do about 4 ounces of cheese. I never really measure because, well, you know, no one has time to measure cheese, because, well, cheese is just one of those things where everything is much better with more cheese. And so we're going to put in about 4 ounces of cheese in with our Greek yogurt. We're just going to mix this up and just cream this together. And then it calls for some green onions. Now, again, here's a little tip for you. Do you enjoy cooking and baking with fresh ingredients? Let me turn this off. I know for me, we love all things fresh, the fresh herbs, and this time of year, maybe when you're just thinking of planting, or maybe you are planting, depending on where you are in the world, there's herbs that you can grow that makes your food taste so much better. And the green onion tops is one of my favorites. Now, this is my little tip again. I love giving tips because if it makes your time in the kitchen go faster and smoother, that's what it's all about. But I take green onions, and you can see there's ice crystals on here. I freeze them because whenever they are in season, and it calls for 1.5 cups. Now, I don't really measure again, but this is probably about 1.5 cups. So I'm gonna just add the whole bag. It might be about 1 cup, right around there. But I always date it. I write on there what it is. The same way with my herbs. Cilantro, basil, parsley, and the green onions are my favorite herbs to have in my freezer. So that way when you're making a recipe, it's one of those things where you may not have it, but guess what? It's in your freezer, and it's going to save you a lot of time from running back and forth up to the grocery store, and at least you have some in your freezer. Next, we're going to put in some garlic. Now, again, a little tip for you. If you like to buy fresh or local, make sure you buy it with the roots on the bottom, because this means that it was not, I got sour cream on my hands. This means it was not processed, or it was processed in America. It was not grown in another country, and it didn't come across the waters, because anything that has a root on can't come across the waters. So that's just a little FYI. If you live in the United States of America and want to make sure you buy local, then by all means, buy something with the roots on the bottom. And most times you can find that next to the tomato section. They often have a basket with that in. And also look for some that the skin on the outside is very tight, that it doesn't come loose, because that also means that it's fresher. Once it starts drying out on the inside, the skin is going to start peeling away, and you don't want dried out garlic, right? So we're going to just take 1 garlic clove. This is a bulb, and then this is a clove. Some people may not know, but this is a clove. And then I'm just going to press it. You can mince it with a knife. I don't have knife skills, sorry. So I just use a garlic press and press that in there. I mean, everything tastes so much better with garlic, right? And garlic is very good for your heart. And we're going to put that in there, and then we're going to put some pepper and some salt. And I like grinding my pepper and salt. You can do what you want. When you grind fresh, again, the flavor is so different. And I never really measure again, because, well, you know, when you're grinding, and I never put the amount of salt that a recipe calls for, because it's one of those things where my husband tries not to eat as much salt. Now, one of my favorite seasonings, and if you live in US, we have a Costco, and this is where you can get this seasoning. It is a organic, no salt seasoning. I mean, I don't have my glasses on, but there is onion, dried garlic, dried carrot, red bell pepper. It's all herbs and spices, but it adds so much flavor. This is our popcorn seasoning. I put this on my mac and cheese last night, and the kids were like, "Wow, Mom, you've made tons of mac and cheese already in your life, but this is by far the best." Who knew? But I went and put some of this in it, and it just adds so much flavor. So I'm going to add some of this, and especially if you're watching your salt intake, this is really good because it just adds that extra flavor without adding salt, okay? So now we're going to put in our steamed cauliflower that we have. And again, if you want it more mashed, you can mash it, but we're just going to toss this together, because as it bakes, it's going to kind of get softer and mashed together. But I like the little chunks, and so I'm just going to let it like this. But we're just gonna stir that together. And next, of course, you've got to have something with bacon. I mean, who doesn't like bacon? If you want to use turkey bacon, or if you want to use a vegan bacon or whatever, you can definitely do that. But again, I will make a bunch of bacon ahead of time. I'm very busy. I don't always have time to do these things, but it makes your time in the kitchen go much faster if you can have some things made ahead of time in the freezer. And yes, I do have a box in my freezer where I have all my herbs and then some other things like this that I know I use a lot. And so I'm just going to use some of this bacon and put this in here. And again, I use a shears. I don't know about you, but I don't like to try to tear or break up the bacon. I just cut it and it just goes so much better and faster. I'm all about quick and easy in the kitchen, right? Because we all have better things to do. We're all busy entrepreneurs or moms or dads. And so when you can have a healthier option in the least amount of time, and this recipe will actually be great if you want to have it made ahead of time in your freezer and get it out for later. You can definitely do that. So now we're going to add in a little bit more cheese. The recipe called for another 8 ounces of cheese. And so I am just going to mix a little bit of that. I'm going to keep the rest of it for the topping because I want to put some of that on the top as well. So now that we have that stirred together, let's put that in our casserole dish. And you do not have to oil the casserole dish unless you really want to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But this, I like the crusty pieces on a casserole. Anybody else out there like that? That crusty burnt stuff, that's my favorite. When I go over to my family dinners or anything like that, I'm always looking around in the kitchen for the pan with all the burnt ends, the burnt pieces. Am I the only one? Does anyone else like those burnt pieces? They are they're crispy, they're delicious. And so, anyway, yeah, I'm one of those that is digging into those pans and fills my plate up with some of those things because I love it. So now we're just going to toss a little bit of extra cheese on the top of this, and we're going to call that good. And then we're going to also put some more bacon on the top. I mean, that is going to be like the icing on the cake, right? So we're just going to take our shears once again and just cut small bacon pieces. And again, you can probably buy bacon pieces, but when you make your own, nothing beats the flavor of your own homemade. So give it a whirl, give it a try, because you can store it in your freezer and it's going to be ready to go. But there we go. Now I'm going to bake this 350 for about 35 minutes. And I'm going to have the best, almost like a mac and cheese or potatoes, depending on what you're hungry for. But I love this, and I've made this already for my Thanksgiving. That way I knew that I could eat that, and I didn't have to feel guilty of eating the mashed potatoes or something else, but I wasn't left out either. So I hope you give that a try. Thank you so much for being here on our little cooking segment today. I hope you have an amazing day, and make sure that you take care of yourself as well. That's why you want to eat healthy and as clean as possible, because you are worth it. You deserve, because if you're not healthy, guess what? You can't help anyone else around you. So make it a great day, and we will see you next time.